Hazmat here at Other Realms for the big Kevin Eastman signing party. I'm out here talking to some fellow fans. Please, introduce yourself and tell us, when did you first become a Ninja Turtle fan?
Awesome. Hi, my name is Dave. I think I was a fan in the 4th grade. Our local library, with books and stuff, they actually had all the graphic novels, and I would just religiously borrow them from the library whenever they were back in stock.
Did you return them?
Of course I did.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
There was an issue with D&D books getting stolen all the time, though, I remember. So.
2, 1, live!
Yeah! You do this way more than me, all right? You're the professional. So you're going to interview me then?
I fake it really well.
All right, aloha, friends and enemies. Here we are, Other Realms, and we are bringing you an absolutely amazing event. Now, as many of you know, I'm sure you saw all over the news, we had a little bit of a storm brewing. Hurricane Lane decided to come through and kind of threw this weekend into an all kind of a mess. But we have got something pretty amazing going on. In the store today, we have Kevin Eastman. Thank you so much for joining us, man.
Absolutely thrilled to be here. And I always want to say, give a shout out to this would have been our 4th year signing here at the show when we got here, and saw what was happening to the families in the island in the rain, and we hope that everybody is safe, that there was no serious damage to your homes. We reached out to you in our thoughts and prayers, and we were so disappointed we didn't get a chance to hang out with you that we wanted to. We approached our friends at Other Realms and said, can we do a free signing just to spend some time with the fans? We're all the way here. We just want to see you and thank you, and it's a treat to be here. So.
And we love having you, so thanks for coming in, man. So if we could just throw a bunch of questions at you that I'm sure you've heard a million times. But no, I do want to go back as far as the creation of the Ninja Turtles. Now, we were talking in an earlier conversation that we had about how the original story was very much like a collection of homage pieces, really.
Yes.
So what were some of the big ones that you wanted to hit when you created the Turtles?
Well, we shamelessly stole everything. No. Peter Laird.
Forgiveness, not permission.
They haven't sued us. No, Peter Laird and myself grew up as huge fans of comics and comics in general. And we particularly bonded over Jack Kirby, who was one of the giants we stand on the shoulders of humbly and try to follow in his footsteps. And that was the thing that when I still remember when I told my parents I want to be a cartoonist like Jack Kirby when I grew up, and they had this horrified look on their face, like, oh my goodness, we're going to have one of those kids that never moves out of the basement, And so we had submitted a lot of our work around trying to get any kind of work drawing comic books, and there was a great movement of self-publishing. Mm-hmm. Dave Sim with Cerebus the Aardvark, and Wendy and Richard Pini with ElfQuest and things, and we just loved it. It was inspired by underground publishers, and so we literally picked our favorite parts of all kinds of comics. Mm-hmm. Daredevil was a big part. New Mutants, the Teenage Mutant sort of aspect, which has actually been kind of prevalent in a lot of comics. Ronin, the Turtles, were drawn in that Ronin style. So we just picked our favorite bits of so many different things and sort of put them all into a blender, and out came these wacky Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and that's how the origin story evolved.
And there's so many like little things to go on. Now, I hope we're not saying anything incriminating by going into the specifics, but anything along the lines of like the hand versus the foot, things like that. I really love it. Now, I heard one theory that the ooze that transformed them could theoretically have been the same waste that made Daredevil blind.
Yes. Well, that was a big, because when I was growing up, the comics that I liked the most, I loved the most, were the more grounded superheroes. Sort of like Daredevil or Captain America or Batman, sort of guys that through their own physical strength and training, became super heroic. Not like this incredible, awesome power. And so I was a long time Daredevil fan, and I still remember like Daredevil 158 when they introduced this new penciler named Frank Miller, and I'm like, hey, this guy's pretty good. and then like the rest of the world, we're all blown away by the next 30 issues, and so with that period in particular, I love what he brought in as Stick as a mentor, the Hand as this evil ninja clan, and then the Daredevil origin thing was it always bothered me that after this canister, after young Matt Murdock heroically jumped out in front of a truck barreling through the streets of New York City carrying radioactive waste, as they do a lot, I guess.
On a really unsecure platform truck. That never sat right with me. I was scared forever of those trucks just rolling by with
every time you go to New York, you sort of look. But after the canister came loose and hit young Matt Murdock near the eyes, they never said what happened to the canister. So that was kind of, Pete and I picked up on that joke and said, well, we'll have the canister continue bouncing down the street. And this poor boy, we later named Chet, was sort of standing precariously close to a sewer opening, an open sewer manhole, holding a glass terrarium with 4 turtles in it. So the canister smashes into that. They all go into the sewer next to a rat, which is lots of rats in New York City.
And they love pizza now. We've seen the videos. It's crazy.
That's terrible.
That's life imitating art, imitating life, imitating art. So I don't even know where it starts.
Oh my goodness, yeah. And it's sort of, it made us laugh. And you have to keep in mind too that, we're thinking nobody's going to read this anyway. We figured if we sold a couple hundred copies, we'd be lucky.
Right.
But, and that's where, as we were developing the origin story with the rat, what should we call the rat? Well, Daredevil's mentor was Stick, Splinter.
Right. Makes
Evil
sense.
Ninja Clan, the hand, the foot. But yeah, there's definitely doses of a lot of different comic books, a lot of things we loved about comic books. And like I said, we really wrote the book for ourselves because we figured we'd be the only ones reading it. And so we just had as much fun as we could get away with. And
that's amazing. And that's all just in essentially the first issue. Once it starts to pick up and the universe quite literally gets so big, like what are some of the other influence that start showing up?
Specifically, it's funny as we, when we created this ooze and the origin story, then one of the things that we wanted to explain in more detail, because we, both Peter and I are also huge fans of Star Wars.
Yeah.
So by issue 3, we included one of the other characters we created prior to Turtles, which is this robot, this human trapped inside a robot body called the Fugitoid. And we wanted to take the Turtles into outer space, literally just for the excuse of being able to draw the Turtles in a cantina scene or anything Star Warsy stuff we could touch. And so we started this arc in issue 3, which sort of digs into the origin of the ooze and the alien race that was trapped on Earth that brought them to that. So issue 5 of Turtles, you can actually see... that's the first one we did in color. If you look at the cover carefully, you can see the medical robot from Empire Strikes Back sort of in shadow over here, and you see his arm. And
Dr. Ball is just lurking in the background there.
We did just enough homages to Star Wars so that George Lucas didn't sue us. But we were huge fans of pop culture, and that was what we were having so much fun. Like another great example is everybody's favorite character, Casey Jones. The second human added to the Turtles universe. We introduced Casey in a one-shot in 1985, and I think in 1986, a movie came out called Big Trouble in Little China. Which
one of my favorite movies.
All-time favorite movies.
Oh, my
dude.
God, love it.
And so from that point on, I every time I write Casey Jones, I always think, what would Jack Burton do? He was like a huge...
That's beautiful. I'm going to reread everything now in that voice. That voice. That is beautiful.
So that was... so there's, it's definitely, again, as huge fans of all things pop culture, that's inspiring to us, and we sort of an idea will spark something else, and it'll sort of find its way into a turtle adventure. So
is there a point when you're just like, well, if this leads to this leads to this, where it just totally took you off guard? Like, I never thought I'd be making a story involving blank.
Yes, and that was as the Turtles sort of evolved, because Peter and I worked directly on, say, I think it was the first 15 issues, which is issues 1 through 11, plus the one shot featuring each of the individual Turtles. And that was really, what became the foundation of a bunch of different Turtle universes. In that around that time we started working on the cartoon show, which was a really fun digression in that still built upon the Turtle universe. We were working with animation writers, and we had to soften and change a number of things, like the different color bandanas. That was something that was actually Pete's idea to help tell the Turtles apart better during the animated episodes. We changed the Foot Clan into robot warriors, because you can't have mutant turtles running around on Saturday morning, hacking up humans,
hacking up
cutlery,
other people, right.
And Splinter's origin, and that was, to us was really fun, because we knew at that time we were not writing the books for ourselves, like with the black and white comic books. We were writing for a very specific younger audience, and the ideas that the animation writers brought to the table, just helped create this other universe of turtles that we love dearly. It was a funner, sillier turtle universe. And
that leads into one of my other questions that I really love, is that the Ninja Turtles seem like the multiverse theory, because there is so many different versions of them, but there's always something that's core to it. Like from the original series that you were done versus the cartoon one. It does, as you said, get a little bit silly at times, not in a bad way, mind you, but like in this funny kind of way that's very mass appeal. And I'm wondering, even with those changes, what are some of the core things? Because I like one of the big ones is Raphael for me. Is that he is such like, and I love that character. He's such like a bruiser kind of direct character in the books, and then in the original comics or in the original cartoon series, he had that like he was a verbal bruiser. Like he was a sarcastic guy. He was the one-liners, the punchline that I absolutely loved.
Yep.
I have a theory that everything about Chandler Bing's character from Friends was taken from Rob Paulsen and Raphael in the original series.
I would not be surprised. I love Rob Paulsen too, by the way. But no, I think it was one of the fun things in each iteration or each version of the Turtle universe is that we were, in the early days, Peter and I were in full control over what was to be done in the adaptation of the Turtles. But the people we worked with sort of didn't say, well, you guys did that, let's fix it because we're going to do something else with it. They were like, well, no, we love this family aspect. It's sort of an adoptive family. It's I'm going to say like they have an adoptive dad with Splinter.
Sure.
They're mutants. They're misfits. I think one of the things, I guess, this family aspect and the appeal to, I think, audiences around the world, which is surprising that not only that worked in the States, for example, but then around the world, that because they're not of any specific race, creed, or color, then nobody was alienated. Like no matter where you grew up and how you grew up, and you could imagine yourself as Donatello or Michelangelo and role play in those characters and not be left out. But I think it's the frustration, I think, is young people, even when you get into teenage years of where do I fit in the world, and you're feeling a little misfit, outcast. I mean, when I was in elementary and grade school, that I was a geek, but not in the cool way it is now. I was the guy sitting.
No, yeah, I understand. From the guy who got the bubble gum dropped on him on the school staircase, I understand. I feel it.
We sat in the corner of the lunchroom by ourselves, drawing. Like look at those guys drawing cartoons.
Yep.
But I think it's that outcast kind of thing that people relate to as well. And then it's always the hero aspect, which my kind of ideal hero, like the Captain America or the Indiana Jones, and the thing that when the chips are down and somebody has to stand up to do the right thing. I think that's in all of us.
Sure.
We all want to be that hero, and I think the Turtles want to be teenagers first. But when it comes down to it, they won't. They'll be that hero.
There's very much that kind of switch that gets turned, and I think that's true with everybody. So I really love that. When you're, as far as like the original cartoon getting made, I mean, it really starts to blow up as far as popularity and everything. So all of these people, the giants that you stand on the shoulders of, did you get a chance to meet them?
Yes.
Did they know? Did you tell them?
Yes, and we probably the one of the greatest moments for myself, and I feel like I can speak to Peter as well, as when we first got to meet Jack Kirby. Our first San Diego Comic-Con, which is, when we grew up on the East Coast, and that was legendary even in 1985. It was like, oh my goodness, it was like a giant flea market, and you would see Jack Kirby and Frank Miller and people like that walking around. Well, we went out in 1985, was our first show out there, and we got to meet Jack Kirby, and it was, appropriately blathering, speechless fan of squeaking out, Mr. Kirby, I love you. But he was like this Brooklyn, New York sort of, oh, thanks, kid, just keep drawing, but no, we later got to know him better and visited him a few times when he was alive. But he was just a guy that loved his job, and he loved what he did, and he loved his fans. I mean, I would see him at Comic-Con, and he'd be, he'd walk through the front doors, him and his wife Roz, and then suddenly he's surrounded by 40, 50, 60 fans, and somebody would ask him a question, and he would just sit in the lobby at the convention center, and they'd start telling stories, and he'd be there all day, because you could ask the same story again and again, ask the same question, and he just loved what he did. And I said, man, if I have one single fan, I hope I can be as respectful as he is to his, because it's, they're the reason I'm here. The reason I have the greatest job is because we have the most awesome fans. So,
very true. Yeah. And you can't have science or magic these days without there being some Kirby crackle. It does not look legitimate in any comic book.
It's so true.
Okay, well then you've kind of become one of those giants that the new batch of people have standing on the shoulders of. Are there people out there that you're like, oh, I've met them, and now they're someone that I look to and I'm like, hey, good job. I love that.
It's really inspiring. In fact, I started back to work on the IDW Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comic series, the IDW universe, And I call them kids. I'm 56, and all the kids that work on that series, they're half my age. They all draw better than I do. They seriously do. And but it's so energizing, and I say it in the kindest way. He said, I go, I love your work, but I also hate you because you draw better than I do. But I mean it because it's they grew up reading. I said, I don't care how you get to how you found the passion that you have to want to pursue this career. If I was part of that, then it's humbling and it's amazing. But to me, I look at them as creators. We're all in the same on the same bus. We're on the same adventure. We're on the same place. We want to tell these great stories, have a lot of fun doing it because there's a lot of hard work to do them, and they're inspiring to me because it's like you think after 34 years of turtle stories, where can you find another idea? And Tom Waltz, who's the head writer, who's written we just finished issue 86. He's written every single issue. And,
that's amazing.
Their energy is infectious. They're inspiring as creatives, and I just love that atmosphere. It keeps me young.
Along that line, what would you say is your favorite turtle story arc that you did not come up with?
Oh, geez, there's so many. I guess that in I refer to the IDW series, comic series again, just because it's really something that when I went back into the series, Tom had laid out this wonderful new universe, Tom Waltz, where he brought in to play the reincarnation aspect of the characters, which added another layer of depth and detail we could tell on this new platform. He had this great idea of separating Raphael from the turtles when they were first exposed to the mutagen, and having Casey and Raphael meet first. Before.
I really like that as also being a reason, like the red bandanas and everything. I loved that. Yep. I thought that was really, really cool.
So I would say, the first 12, because we were so scared, because, I contributed I said I would do this, I would maybe a little bit more of that, but he had built this wonderful foundation, and I felt like, I said, to me, as one of the Turtles' dads, this is exciting. I think this is really fun. If we can get the fans on board, because, again, the treatment of the Turtles was like the classic Turtles, and I said, what I would say to fans, that we can never recreate the black and white series Pete and I did, but this is the closest thing to it because tonally it was edgy.
It honors that spirit.
It honors that spirit. Okay. And so I said the fans are either going to find our house and crucify, drag us out into the street and tar and feather us and send us down the way, or if they embrace what we're trying to do because the heart and soul is there, then they'll come along for the ride.
And it's that heart and soul, that thing that always must be present to make sure that the turtles stay the turtles.
Yeah, so I would say, love that. So the first 12 issues that Dan Duncan drew, who did so fantastic, but that was one of my favorite because that was really, that first year was a very dramatic retelling of the turtle universe, creating what I call the IDW Turtle Universe, so it was perfect. So.
Okay, well, I have a million more questions, but we are running out of time. Our signing is about to begin, so we want to make sure that the fans can get in here. So if you're on Oahu, make sure you come down. Other Realms, we're in the Nimitz Center, right behind Best Buy and Evile. So make sure you come down here. We are throwing a party. Yes. We've got all kinds of good stuff going on until 4 o'clock today. So thank you so much again for being here.
Dude, absolute pleasure. Thrilled to be here and hope to see you guys. Again, disappointed we didn't get to spend the convention with you, but we're going to be back in February. But it's great that we could spend this Sunday with you. If you get the time, come down and say hi, and love to see you.
All right. So come on down. If you're off Oahu, hey, make sure you just stay tuned to us here on Twitch. But if you're on the island, you have no excuse. All right, so we'll see you. Aloha.
Aloha.